12, 10. Something's happening.
It's
Yes!
yeah.
Check that out!
Oh, same.
Got one!
Yeah. There you go.
Epic! Excellent. Well, ladies and gents, how cool is that? We finally got an Amiga laptop that actually closes and is portable after a fashion. Yeah, it's a bit of a chunk and it's not pretty. I've had a few comments saying it's not very beautiful, but it's a genuine Amiga motherboard with very dubious power system that I've put together, which is less dubious now. It's got all of the battery management in there and all that kind of good stuff. And we've got trackers and speech synthesis software working, all that kind of stuff. We've got Ravi Abbott on Skype here, who has basically been trying to help me through actually using this, because as you will see, I'm not particularly good with Amiga. It's my first real Amiga experience. But we've got there, mate. This is fantastic. Yeah. It's time to start work again on the Amiga laptop project that Ravi and I have been working on. What we've got to do is we've got to reconfigure these battery packs because they're rather dangerous the way they're set up at the moment, and we need to install some battery management technology in order to balance the charge voltages in each cell. Let me talk you through the circuit that we have on that Amiga as it stands today. So what I've got is, as each of these cells are Lithium Ion 18650 cells, and each cell is in series, and there's a row of series cells in order to make it 12 volts, and each of those rows of series cells are then put in parallel. Now, I needed quite a lot for the 12 volt line, specifically because the Amiga draws quite a lot of current from the 12 volt line, and on top of that, it's also being used to supply the monitor. The monitor is a 12 volt EOYO little LCD monitor, so that also needs 12 volts, and then on top of that, there's 5 volts as well, which needs to go into the Amiga. So basically this 12 volt line, this 12 volt pack here, is driving an awful lot. So I've got quite a lot of those in parallel in order to make up for the amount of current that they're drawing. And then what I've done is the 0 volt line here, I've put a whole bunch of other cells down here, again in the same style configuration but less of them, in order to create the minus 12 volt rail. Because you need plus 12 volts, 0 volts, minus 12 volts, and 5 volts. 5 volts is a buck regulator, which is off this side somewhere on the other side of this little dual pole, dual throw switch. So this is really very naughty what I've done at the minute to configure lithium ion cells like this and put no protection in there. So moving over to here, I have purchased some battery management PCBs. The battery management PCB then, with more connections to those cells, can monitor those cells' voltages and can make sure that all of those cells are fully charged when they're charged up. So you get a nice even charge voltage across each cell. Clearly 18650s are quite scary, so if you short circuit these things, there's going to be smoke, potentially flames. So having short circuit protection is very useful indeed. It also offers overcharge protection, and you end up with a cell that dies. This battery management PCB helps resolve overcharge problems. It also, and this is the key thing, and that's why I've written it very big here, it also manages the low voltage side of these batteries. So if these batteries drop below 9.6 volts over the total 3 cells there, this PCB then just shuts things down, because again, if you allow these batteries to drop below a specific voltage, I think it's 2.5 volts per cell or something along those lines, they will die. So this battery management PCB does its best to make sure that that doesn't happen. This is brilliant because it means that I don't have to manually take care of all of these batteries anymore and manually charge all of these batteries up and check them and make sure that they're working. This PCB is just going to do all of that for us. So we need to reconfigure the way these cells are configured at the moment. We need to rejig the whole lot. The way I have them configured in this pack here means that I'm going to have to pull these out and rewire everything. We'll get things reconfigured, we'll get these PCBs wired in. So the plan, once we've got all of these battery management circuits in place, is to put a couple of charge ports somewhere in this laptop so that Ravi can plug in a cheap, handy 12.6 volt charger and basically charge this laptop up. Right, let's get down to the workshop and start pulling all of this apart and reconfiguring the cells. I've wired up the BMS board, the BMS PCB. So here it is, look at that in all of its wonderful goodness. First of all, let's talk about the battery and the way they've been configured. So I've got 4 in parallel, 4 in parallel, 4 in parallel. And then the positive side of those guys and the negative side of those guys. The negative side of those guys are connected to the positive side of those guys, and the negative side of those guys are connected to the positive side of those guys. And you can see that with those 2 little wires there. So if we look across here and here, we should get 12 volts. Whoops, things will stop moving. There we go, we've got a lovely 12 volts there, 11.99, close enough. We've got 12 volts across that PCB, and then what we've got here are 2 more sense lines across all of those batteries so that this PCB can manage the charge to all of those batteries. This whole circuit started getting really quite warm, and I was thinking to myself, well, perhaps it's just trying to balance the power throughout the pack, but actually no, I got my B1 and my B2 the wrong way around. I looked it up on the Bay of E, where I bought this piece of Chinese technology. It doesn't go positive B1, B2, B minus, it goes positive B2, B1, B minus. So good news, working, happy days. A decent 12 volts out of here, nothing's getting hot, and so this is ready to be charged up. I have now got a whole nother one to do. Thankfully it's a little bit smaller. I've been working hard on this, as you can see. So this here is the minus 12 volt battery management circuit. All of the cables are routed with a little bit of hot glue. Keep them stuck in place, make sure it's relatively neat. So this is the plus 12 volt pack and the minus 12 volt pack. The meters are now in place. The switch has got plus minus 12 volts on it. We yet have to get 5 volts and then wire up the Amiga power connector. But we're making some really good progress. Hot glue gun is out. TS100 soldering iron out is out. Loads of cables all over the place. Duct tape. Yeah, but we're really making some good progress here. You can see the plus 12 volts and the minus 12 volt batteries and the missile switch. When we turn that on, there you go. Our 2 meters show us the relative voltage levels of those cells. Just checking that things are charging properly, so get this little multimeter in view here. And what we should be able to do is go across, let's just make sure that we're in voltage, yeah, and just go across these terminals here. So this is the battery plus terminal up here, and that's the battery 2, so that's 4.15 volts, which is good. So the next one should be sort of almost double that, and that's this guy here, yeah, 8 point something. and the next one should be 12 and a little bit, which is the other end, the other side of the batteries. There it is, 12.3 volts. So that all looks sensible, and then the input stroke output of the batteries is 12.3 volts. Sorry, I got my meter leads the wrong way around there, but that's no biggie. So the other thing that you can see that's going on here, this is a DC current clamp meter, and with a little bit of luck you can see that that is driving 1.6, or is currently 1.6 amps, going from my little charge power supply here. It's a little adjustable variable power supply, variable voltage power supply, and I've got that going into what will be the charge connector, and right now we're just charging that large bank of lithium ion cells. So hopefully when the postie comes today, tomorrow, there's going to be a couple of DC barrel jacks, and we'll put those on the bottom of there. This guy here is the charge connector, or will be the charge cables for the second set of 18650s, which are controlled by that guy. I'll get those charged up and check those in a minute, but we're really making some good progress. The other thing I did, I don't know if you can see it, the other thing I did is I put some hinges on here. So now we actually have a unit that sort of hinges up and down, which is cool. So there we have it almost. As soon as the charge connectors are in, then we can install the motherboard, plug everything in, maybe even get Ravi on Skype, and he can teach me how to use an Amiga. That'll be cool. So when you weren't looking, this naughty little connector here shorted on that PCB, blew up that PCB, so I've had to replace this PCB. And also when you weren't looking, I fitted 2 charge ports. Alright, let's just test it first. 12.5 or so on both ports. This one's got a little load on it, which is this monitor here, and that's the reason why this has dropped to 12.3. And as you can see, the monitor is now up and running. So we're just going to check the voltages on this guy, make sure that they're all correct, and then we can install the motherboard, and then we can learn how to play Amiga. I believe I've got everything plugged in properly now, so it's time to give it its first switch on. 3D printed Amiga sign. This is effectively the hard drive here, the disk operating system. On that there's a little SanDisk SD card. We've got AV going out to the monitor. We've got the right audio channel going out to the monitor. We might have to make a special cable up to get both left and right. Power has been checked and plugged into the motherboard. We've got a special USB keyboard adapter that piggybacks onto one of the chips on the motherboard, and that just literally gives us the ability to be able to plug a standard USB keyboard in. We've got the 2 charge ports fitted on the front, so we can now charge the batteries. We've got the battery management PCBs connected in, and all of the batteries have now been reconfigured. This is the plus 5 volt supply here. We've got a large plus 12 volt set of cells and a smaller set of minus 12 volt cells, because the motherboard needs plus 12 volts, minus 12 volts and 5 volts to run. And then we've got the mouse. This is what's quite cool. It's an old ball mouse. I haven't cleaned my balls for ages. Remember that? Getting balls out of mice and having to clean them? Cleaning mice balls. Anyway, that is not a USB connection. That is a 9-pin D-type, which is quite goofy. I love it. Absolutely love it. So, here we go then. Missile switch on. 12.3 volts, 12.4 volts. And this is dropping down because quite a bit of current is being consumed by the motherboard. The monitor's lit up. We've got hard drive blinking away here, and we've got keyboard shut, and there it is. Happy days. Happy days. That, I believe, is Amiga Workbench. Good stuff. Mouse works. Right. Now all I've got to do is learn how to use this thing. Ravi, where are you, mate? I need you. All right, let's have a bit of fun. I haven't played with Amigas very much at all. So let's, now we're in the camper van and I've chased the wife away from the Amiga. She really wants to have a play with it and the Amiga. And anyway, so let's have a, I mean, this is just, it's cracking really. It's proper old school tech. As a kid, I was a 6502 guy. I never got the opportunity really to play around with the Amigas or the Ataris and that kind of stuff. Never really had a proper games console until I was at university, and then it was a SNES. Let me get you closer to the screen so you can see what I can see. And there's the Amiga laptop, and there is the screen from the Amiga laptop. It's a nice little e-yo-yo screen. It's actually quite good because it's got everything, all kinds of inputs on it: HDMI, standard composite, VGA, and audio as well, which is quite cool. So here we are. This is my first experience of Workbench. There's a folder here called Games, which I'm sure if I double click, yeah, Bullfrog, yeah, that is Syndicate. There's a button there that says Go. Maybe click on that. Double click on it, or click on that and then click Go. Double click on that. Not enough memory. Oh, boo. That's a shame, isn't it? Hi, Ravi.
Hey.
Hey, everyone. So, as you saw, I'm not very good with this Amiga thing. So I've got the expert here with me, and he's even given me permission to remove the protective film cover from the screen.
Oh, so satisfying.
That is lush, mate. It's very satisfying to do that, because now the screen's in the box. So I'm going to fire the thing up, and Ravi is putting together a bunch of software for me. And what we'll do is and the other thing, Ravi, I've got to be honest, mate, I've got to tell you, I've put the keyboard connector on the wrong chip.
That's alright.
I don't think it's done any damage. We just had a moment of revelation, and we've got this plugged in the right way around now, this little keyboard connector, and it's got a green light on, and also there's a green light that's come up on the keyboard now as well. So hopefully, if we...
Through troubleshooting.
Yeah, if we get in here and do that, with a bit of luck, we might be able... Yes, we've got a working keyboard. Right, LL and O is 3, 3 and 6.
Yeah, that might be some key mapping or something that's a bit messed up. Or it might just be a cheap keyboard that's dying over time.
And 3 and 3 are also... Right, okay, we can go he.
So what we can do is we can do a little bit more troubleshooting on this keyboard, find out what's going on. The key maps might be because I've just done a really slim installation.
Okay.
Of Workbench, but we can try some of the shortcuts and stuff and see if they work.
Yeah, so where do I need to go, mate?
So, well, on the keyboard, if there's 2 Alt keys and Control, press them down and see if it resets.
All 3?
Yeah. Or the windows.
There you go. So
there we go. Reset one is working. Hope that might even sort the key mapping out. We'll see.
Okay, well everything looks like it's booting back up. The hard drive light is flashing again, and Workbench has just fired up.
Yeah, give the say program a go and see if the key maps have sorted themselves out.
Okay. The
Could
previous.
we try and put your other keyboard in and do a full hard reset?
Okay. So
Like that.
right. So the LED just went off on the. Right. So this is a proper big keyboard now, like a fully
Full
fledged
bad boy.
keyboard. Oh right, we plugged it in and the green light came back on the
Okay.
on the
Try it out,
thing.
see.
So let's have a go. Yeah, keyboard's working. Oh, yes, mate.
And that one's working normally. Oh, cool.
Here we go. Ready?
I suspect it's that keyboard's a cheap one.
Yeah. Here we go.
Hello, Raven. I am working normally.
That's good.
My name is Stephen Hawking.
I've always wanted to do that. Hang on.
This is where Howard's going to start writing raps, isn't it?
Ready? You're going to recognise this one. You ready?
Touch me and just push me.
That's it. You,
Touch
now
me
you need to do your
and
own
just
version of
push me.
that.
Epic. So we're at 11.4 volts on the 12 volt battery. So this thing's been on for about I'd say 30 minutes on battery power now.
Okay. So you want to kind of stress test it, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's ultimately I wanted to figure out how long. I said to you it would probably last between 30 minutes and an hour. So so it's running up to 30 minutes at the moment, which isn't bad
No, so what I'm thinking is actually,
for that big power hungry PCB.
do you have Win32 disk imager?
Yep, I sure do.
I was thinking if I build you an emulated setup, record that, and then send you the disk image, all you need to do is then write it to the SD card.
Perfect.
Updated one. Instead of getting you to set up the emulator and
Yeah,
everything,
no,
I
that-
just
that-
do it here.
That makes a
make
lot
it
of
in
sense, Ravi. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll just write it as an ISO file to the.
And then I'll have tons of games on it, and if you find one that works, it works, you know.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
perfect. What's
It's
multi? I've got something here called multi-view, and there's a whole load of mods in here. Have I got any software to play music on this?
Yes, there should be a thing called Hippo Player, maybe.
Hippo Player. Where would that be? In utilities.
See your structure, because I can't remember what I actually chucked in there. So, if you try DH0 : I'm just trying to guess the name of the hard drive.
Yeah, we've just got. It came back and it didn't. It didn't complain at me.
Now do DIR.
All right.
Directory.
Read write. Oh, yeah. Sweet Harmony mod.
And that's the one with all the stuff in.
Yeah, Xenon 2 mod.
Yeah, is there a thing called PT1210 in there?
Hang on. How do I scroll up and down?
I think you use the cursor keys.
No, the cursor keys are repeating what I previously
It's
typed.
just crap. Just type in PT1210.
PT1210. Something's happening.
It's
Yes!
a hard drive battery, yeah.
Check that out! Oh,
And
that's
then
Pro Tracker. No
we
way,
have
mate!
play mods through there, so I must have installed a load of dance music on there.
Wicked! Right, DJ Spin Tetris, come on. Not enough memory!
You're gonna have to try and find one with memory, maybe a chip one or something. Just go through them and see. Yeah, if we play.
Okay.
I am running like 0.5 megabyte of memory on there, so the program probably takes up. Just go through anything, yeah, if it. Oh, nothing. Not enough memory on anything. No.
Not even Super Mario Land.
I'll have to send.
Got one!
Yeah. There you go.
Epic. Gonads cracks.
Yeah, so, crap music. So what I want to do with this Amiga is...
Hold on, let me, there we go, sorry, go on, say.
What I want to do with this Amiga is we're running a proper vanilla system at the moment. So we've got absolutely nothing on there. So I want to get this little card, which is going to add 2 megabytes of RAM. And then we can go mental.
Excellent, and then you can get loads of stuff running on it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, mate, I'm pleased to tell you that this thing works. It's been running now for probably 40 minutes, I would say. And the voltage on the primary battery pack has dropped from a full charge down to 11.3 volts. But the PCB here is quite power hungry. I would say when it gets to 10.5 volts, it's probably gonna start to brown out on you, I expect.
Yeah.
But it works, mate. It's got 2 charge ports on the front of it now.
Cool.
So you can literally just plug in a £5 12 volt charger.
Plenty of them around, yeah.
and that will charge everything back up for you. And
Why has it got 2 then? Is that just...
Because there's 2 banks of batteries in here.
Ah, yeah, so that's why you've got the 2 displays.
So there's
Yeah,
2,
right,
and then
yeah.
I've reconfigured all of those cells, by the way. It was quite a long job, and I've fitted the battery management circuits in here now, so it isn't going to explode on you.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gents, how cool is that? We finally got an Amiga laptop that actually closes and is portable after a fashion. Yeah, it's a bit of a chunk and it's not pretty. I've had a few comments saying it's not very beautiful, but it's a genuine Amiga motherboard with very dubious power system that I've put together, which is less dubious now. It's got all of the battery management in there and all that kind of good stuff. And we've got trackers and speech synthesis, put my teeth back in, trackers and speech synthesis software working, all that kind of stuff. We've got Ravi Abbott on Skype here, who has basically been trying to help me through actually using this, because as you've seen, or as you will see, I'm not particularly good with Amiga. It's my first real Amiga experience, but we've got there, mate. This is fantastic.
Yeah. And I've been thinking, you know, functionality before beauty. But once we get to the beautiful part, I was thinking an acrylic case.
Oh,
An acrylic one,
yeah.
transparent. Imagine that.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Well, I tell you, Ravi is clearly planning many developments and modifications and upgrades to this system. So absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen Ravi's channel, pop over and check out Ravi's channel. Ravi DJs, mod chip tunes and all of this kind of good stuff. And also basically your channel is sort of like retro, almost Amiga type channel, isn't it, really?
Yeah, so I'm doing an Amiga history series at the moment. I'm doing my DJing live stream, but I'm doing that on Twitch because I think Twitch kind of fits live streaming a lot more.
Yes.
But documentary videos and stuff like that and stuff like this, definitely for YouTube.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I haven't actually found you on Twitch. I didn't realise you were doing that, so I'll make sure that I link to your Twitch account as well. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Ravi,
I'll link you up, yeah.
Thanks ever so much for all of your help with this, mate. It's really put a smile on my face to be able to get all of this up and running.
It's good to see that we're progressing. We take it slowly, but you know
we're getting there, mate.
John, wow.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks ever so much, mate. Cheers for now.
Cheers. Bye.
If you're fond of sand dunes and salty air, quaint little villages here and there. If you're fond of sand dunes and salty air, quaint little villages here and there. If you're fond of sand dunes and salty air, quaint little villages here and there. If you're fond of sand